Hi, my name is Trevor Allen, and I'm about to do something probably that I'm going to regret. But I'm a huge fan of Dan Coe, and I've been thinking about marketing. And one of the things that he's probably going to, if he ever sees this, going to say, I didn't say to do it in your sweatshirt. But I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? Take off the dress shirt, just be you and see what happens. And maybe I don't post this. I don't know. We'll see. Um, all right. So I've been a teacher for a lot more years than I like to think about. I'm a Gen Xer, and so uh, this world of digital projects and doom scrolling and all that is I grew up where you built stuff with your hands and spent time on farms and know how to make swords out of old fence posts and that kind of thing. I grew up with hand tools, and now I'm just completing my first app suite. Now I'm an artist. You can see some of that, and I guess I'll see if I don't know if I can switch. There we go. So you can see I'm actually a practicing artist. I'm working through series of paintings. Also a maker. I do everything from 3D printing to laser cutting and so on. But my fascination has always been the sketchbook. And when I lived in Chicago and I was teaching there, I really just absolutely adored going to the Ryerson Museum. And the Ryerson Museum libraries have these collections of what are called facsimile sketchbooks. And what you can do is you can just make a list of the cards from the card catalog, and they'll bring you a stack of books that are the inner workings of the minds of M.C. Escher and Hokusai and Chuck Close, everybody. If it exists, it's likely in the collection of the Ryerson. And the Ryerson is a library for the curator staff, curatorial staff of the School of the Art Institute of Chicago and the Museum of the Art Institute of Chicago. And it's just, I've looked all around the planet. Even Harvard Fogg Museum said, you know who you should talk to are the folks Peter Bent over at the Ryerson Library at the Art Institute, which is where I'd come from. So anyway, that was hugely formative for me, and getting into the heads of master artists. This I didn't know this was possible, and I thought I was crazy for a while. Who am I to think that I'm actually getting inside the mind of these master artists? But I was teaching art and art history at the time, and what I discovered is that I would do the same old artist assignments that every art teacher teaches. How to draw the side of a barn, how to do a self-portrait, and there's so many different just skill exercises, learning cross-hatching, different kinds of line, continuous line drawings, contour line, working with shape, or the elements of art and principles of design. But I also really heavily relied for my studio program on artist studies. And what I discovered was that what I'd learned in acting at Evanston Township High School in Evanston was that this wasn't a lesson for art or for poetry, but it was a lesson that informed everything I've done, from improvisational theater to singing, writing music. We learn as kids from copying other people, and not just to say we're copying sounds like, oh, you're just doing what everyone else does. It's unoriginal. But when I say we learn from copying, what I actually mean is not that we copy their work. What I mean is we copy the way they handle information. We copy the way they respond to problems, the way that they work their way around an idea. And the magic of that in the artist study is that when you combine the idea of the artist's sketchbook and studying what are they doing in the cafe, and some of them, like Egon Schiele and a couple other people, you look at how much money they owed at the cafe and how much they paid. I mean, the cafe owners and waiters and waitresses must have really liked them because they didn't pay their bills. Or at least they didn't record paying the bills in the sketchbook. But what you learn really quickly is that when you're doing both of those things together, the act of making art in their style based on their sketchbooks, what you find yourself doing is you're making yourself walk through the problems that they went through, the problems they solved, the struggles, the things that they were paying attention to, the world at the moment that they were living in, place, time, politics, war, peace, what's fashionable, what's not. All of these things change what we pay attention to, how we observe them, and what things we decide to make art about. And so what I discovered is that when you really work in a significant way over a period of time in the style of someone else, using their methods that you're grabbing from their sketchbook, not just from decoding a finished work of art and reading what some critic wrote about it, but rather you're responding to things that you're observing yourself, those same mechanisms kick into gear. And what that allows is that you're actually getting into their head because you're running into the same thought patterns. You're actually reinvestigating. Now, what does this have to do with this guy who just told me that he created a creative suite and has these theories about education and, is a teacher and an artist? Where's he going? I'm going on a journey. And for many, many years, my students would say, dude, you have all these cool ideas. Why aren't you out doing them? And my answer was, well, dude, I'm busy teaching you, and that's worth doing. But, times change, and a couple countries later, and after 26 years of teaching and running makerspaces and doing all this different work, I'm finding myself ready to try new things. And I don't imagine for a second I'm not going to go back to the classroom, but I'm much more interested in teaching individual students and guiding them on these projects. Turns out I have a gift for it that gets them into schools that they wouldn't otherwise have access to, and that's really fun. When you can get somebody who comes to you with a goal that they don't think they can achieve, but they want it, and then they get there, that is a thrill. So that's what I'm trying to do right now, helping people become the product. The portfolios, the reason I've had such good success, especially in the last 10 years or so, is that I'm focusing on the student growing, the student self-confidence, the student self-awareness. That's when you get these products, because that's when you get projects that can help them make their best work. And of course, you're going to do better stuff when you're excited, when this stuff is at your core. All right, so I'm going to shift to the software. Again, I'm listening to Dan Coe, so I'm not going to make a pitch, but I am going to tell you what I'm thinking about. And right now, I'm redeveloping the pipeline from the phone capture, from the meme card system. What's a meme card system? Thanks for asking. So the idea of the current creative suite, Apocrino Forge, I've got a couple of them, get into that later. Apocrino Forge is a digital sketchbook. You use the digital sketchbook the way you use any sketchbook. Then you capture the things that you find yourself thinking more about, the brilliant moments, the thing that becomes sort of iconic in your own mind and you can't get it out of your head. You capture that and you take it to the meme card system. You take those cards and you put it together into a mind map. Long and the short of it is, I based this partly on Dave Buzan, but also on how Picasso created Les Saltimbanques, one of his first major works. And if you read David Galenson, he refers to it as the innovation spectrum. And Picasso's way over there on the side of conceptual. So he starts with an idea and then has systems that he works the ideas and puts them together. So I married a couple different systems, couple that I'm not going to bother to make the video longer talking about. But basically, the digital sketchbook has a cycle. And you go through, you find the cool things, you collect the cool things, you turn the cool things into a new thing, and then you feed it back into the sketchbook and you start a new sketchbook. So every time you do this, you hit a new level. And if you've ever had a sketchbook and you finished it and you're so excited and you're so proud, and then there's fear because you have to start a new one, and about what? And where do you start? You got nothing to work with. It's a blank book. It's kind of beautiful, but it's also, now what? What do I draw? That's nothing compared to what's this sketchbook going to be about. Digital allows you to do it differently. The pressure's off. You can import from photos. Anyway, the creative process that it enables is just mind-blowing to me anyway, and I made it. So if I'm finding really cool discoveries, maybe it's cool. Anyway, so I just want to show you. The idea is that you take your old sketchbooks and you take your old brilliance, and instead of getting into the sketchbooks of masters, most of you probably don't live in Chicago, probably never heard of the Ryerson Museum, but if you go through your old sketchbooks and you can see the connections. This is a series I'm working on right now about going to the beach in Spain and Spanish vacations and so on. But, if you go ahead and upload your old sketchbooks into this digital sketchbook, well, then you can go spelunking in your own mind through your own ideas and find your own inspirations to re-inspire you. And that is what I will leave you with, which is that what I'm currently working on is this pipeline where you can have your digital sketchbook on the laptop using the web app, or on your iPad, and with the web app you can use a Wacom tablet, or some people actually are good at working with their mouse. But you can make these kinds of drawings digitally. You can add layers to and remake it. This one isn't particularly a good candidate because it takes forever to cut all of the holes, plan them out, how does everything fit. And you can see I didn't even finish coloring in this one, but this one, when I upload it, actually I think I'm going to do that next. I'm going to upload this and I'm going to redesign it because I can do that digitally, do 10 pages of different iterations, and then I'm absolutely ready to do a 4 or 5 page one with all the holes pre-planned, everything lines up. I can do it with the layer system because it does everything that, maybe not everything, but it does, what Photoshop and Procreate and those guys do, but it's also a digital sketchbook. So anyway, the import is a little hinky. I'm trying to improve it so that, if somebody gave me this piece of software, I'm super critical. I would criticize my own stuff, but it's getting to the point where I'm starting to get really happy with it. Anyway, so I'm going to work on that. And then I'm excited about this. Anyway, so I'm on this journey of, Mr. Allen, why don't you do these crazy ideas? And, why are you still teaching us? Well, I miss those guys. So that's not the goal. But this stuff is really cool. So if you get a chance, go to apocrino.com. I write a lot about art and about these thoughts, and I'll be writing more about the software. Apocrino.com for the software. Notes on the Living Arts. My Substack, Trevin Allen. And for any of you who are actually still watching, thank you. That's fantastic. And let's see if the Dan Coe sweatshirt and my Appalachian Trail Blood Mountain t-shirt was the right move. And you can tell me. And have fun with it if you want. I suppose I'll probably find out with or without my own permission for you to do so. Anyway, thanks so much, and really hope that you join me on this journey. And if you're interested and you need a step on your own journey, well, that's what my new job is. So thanks, and like and subscribe and all that stuff, I guess. But thanks for watching and listening. Bye.